Time to vacate the grid, I think, because the race is about to get underway. The grid for this one based upon the result from race number 1, so Henry Neal, the race 1 winner, will be on pole position for it, with Lewis Kent alongside, and he was the highest placed TCR car. But as we've made the point a few times, all of the cars, TCR and NGTC, are all competing for the same prize. They're all scoring points against each other, and whilst there will be a separate prize for the top TCR car at the end of the day, at the end of the season, sorry, they're also all competing for a big prize of the Touring Car Trophy. See the 6 TCT cars at the front of the grid, and then the sea of VW Cup cars a bit further back. So that's Honda Civic on pole position. For those of you new to the Touring Car Trophy, it essentially is a championship in which any 2-litre touring car is eligible to race, and that means not only TCR cars but NGTC cars, Super 2000s, a Super Touring car even would be eligible for this race, this championship, should you wish to race it. And we've even seen sort of one-make Seat Cupras and things competing with us in the past as well, and that has really opened up the grid to a lot more variety than we otherwise would have seen. TCR cars definitely the most numerous, because it has been extremely close. The wet conditions have changed the dynamic, I think, of a lot of the races, but they certainly haven't dampened the spirits of the drivers or the fans, and many of these spectators making their first visit trackside all year. So it's nice to have them here, it really is, and good to see most of them are adhering to social distancing rules as well. So last couple of cars being removed, the green flag lap then will start. There's Tim Docker's TCR Golf, and that VW Golf that competed here at Oulton last year at the start of the season but wasn't eligible for points. But this year it does look as though he is in it for hopefully the full season. There's Henry Neal on those Dunlop wet tyres for him. I'm assuming everyone's gone for wet tyres. I don't think it is anywhere near dry enough yet for slick tyres, but my point is that in 20 minutes time it may well be dry enough, because these wet tyres really do displace a lot of water. There isn't a huge amount of standing water to begin with, so it's very possible that we could have a few drivers running into tyre problems. It's not so much that they wear, they start overheating those blocks on the tyre. If they don't have enough water to move, they start to move around on the surface of the road. That generates excess tyre temperature, and that can really affect the grip that you've got. And these front-wheel drive cars, they need all of the front traction they can get, of course. The front wheels powering the car, dragging the car around the track. Once they start to wear out, you get a horrific understeer on turn in and through the exit of the corner. So I believe I've just been passed a message. We are waiting for the last of the cars from the previous race to be pulled out of a barrier somewhere out on the far side of the track, possibly up at Druids. So that's why we are just waiting for having a slight delay to the start, but I think they've managed to I can hear the pit siren going off, so I think that the start countdown has started. Yes, it has the 1 minute board just going out, and it will be a BRSCC minute, so it won't consist of the full 60 seconds, because the 30-second board I can see is already going out. So yeah, they're going to get the cars out onto the track relatively soon. So off they go then. Onto the warm-up lap. Henry Neal leads the field around and weaves the car from side to side to get the temperature into those tyres. Slams on the brakes as well. If you can get those brakes up to working temperature, then that will dissipate heat into the tyres as well. Darrell Wilson's got, Darrell Wilson, sorry, has got the car back out on track. I got definitive clarification from Darrell that it is Darrell, not Darrell. I've been told lots of different versions of how to say his name over the years. It is Daryl Wilson, then former VW Cup racer. He was a pioneer for diesel technology in the VW Racing Cup a few years ago. Had much success with a diesel-powered VW Scirocco. Here's the grid then. Henry Neal on pole position by virtue of winning the first race. Lewis Kent alongside him. Then Max Hart and Dan Kirby with Tim Docker and Daryl Wilson right behind. And that is your Dunlop Touring Car Trophy grid. The race has been shortened, by the way, to 18 minutes. So 18 minutes will be the new duration for this one. The VW Cup grid, Jeff Alden has drawn reverse grid pole. It was a top 6 grid reversal. Andrew Wilmot is second. Mark Wakefield and Liam Griffin returning to the championship. They make up row 2 ahead of the top 2, Josh Coggan and Richard Gill. But then it's Bradley Kent who was on pole for race 1. He's alongside Ollie Brown. Kieran Griffin and Tony Prendergast on row 5 ahead of Paul de Hadre and Will Butler. And then it is further back. There are a couple more rows of the grid, but that is the bulk of the front runners. You can see here the track is definitely getting dry on the racing line. It's going to be interesting this on tyres, isn't it? They'll all be on the wet tyres, but those who look after the tyres better in the early stages are going to have the speed later on. I think they'll all be quite glad to hear that it's been shortened to 18 minutes, this one, because if it was the full 20 minutes, it might have one or two troubles with tyre conservation towards the end. So green flag lap then coming towards its conclusion for the TCT cars. The VWs though, Jeff Alden is not in a hurry to get back to the grid. And why should he be? Because he's in this for himself to win the VW Cup. He doesn't really care about the TCT cars out in front. He's going to warm his tyres up as much as he can. And you can see how much further ahead the TCT machines are as they head into Lodge Corner. And Lewis Kent in that beautiful looking Hyundai i30N TCR heads over Deer Leap and is about to line up on the outside of row number 1. So round number 2 then of the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy incorporating TCR UK and the VW Racing Cup just a few moments away. Thank you everyone for joining us from Oulton Park. And as the cars line up on the grid, it is going to be an interesting 18 minutes of action, I reckon, here. Who will get the best start? That's going to be key to who comes out on top in this race, because Henry Neal has got Lewis Kent alongside, and Lewis is a decent starter. And he will want to win this race. He'll be mainly looking to beat the other TCR entrants, I suppose, but if he can beat Henry Neal as well, that would be very useful indeed. Revs then starting to rise, ready to go racing for the second time with the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy incorporating TCR UK and the VW Racing Cup. Ready to go, Henry Neal and Lewis Kent on the front row. Lewis Kent is away better this time, gets a bit of wheel spin in the second phase of the start, but his reaction time was better. Has he been able to beat Henry Neal into the first corner? I think he might have done, yes. Lewis Kent has got the lead away. Henry Neal can't fight back into the right-hander. It's Max Hart in third. He holds on to his grid position. There goes Richard Gilbert, the race 1 winner in the VWs, already making some progress. He's into about third or fourth in class on the run down the hill, but it's Kent that leads the way. Henry Neal second, Max Hart third, Daryl Wilson into fourth from sixth. That's a good start from him, with Dan Kirby in fifth position, and Tim Docker again not off the line all that strongly. Then it is still going to be Jeff Alden that leads in the VWs by the looks of it. The battle on for second place though. Henry Neal has not got away all that strongly here, and Max Hart will be buoyed by his first podium in his first race earlier on today. Can he now back that up with a second one, maybe even challenge for a race win? Well, he is in a car that we know is capable of winning races, but will he be able to get after Lewis Kent? There is the VW pack, and look at the way that those two green Golfs have got themselves to the sharp end. Second and third place for Coggan and Gilbert. I'm going to assume it's Coggan in front. He started ahead of Gilbert on the grid, but they're all really stacking up behind the race leader Jeff Alden. So that VW Cup part of the race is going to get very lively very quickly. Here they come over the hill, look, scrabbling around, and Jeff Alden doesn't know where to go. He's got cars to the left, cars to the right. It is Richard Gilbert that is second, and into the back of him and gets him sideways. Oh no! Jeff Alden almost rolls over, gets up onto two wheels. He's on the grass, and Josh Coggan comes through. No, Richard Gilbert comes through in the number 2 car to take the lead. It was Coggan that got into the back of Jeff Alden, and poor Jeff Alden falling down the order. Bradley Kent is off the road as well. It has all gone wrong in the VW Cup class. Look at this. Well, this was the end of it. Jeff Alden rejoining, and they were 3 abreast as he did so, and Bradley Kent ends up on the grass. The big foam barrier is in the middle of the road now, and I think Mark Wakefield, no, it might be Andy Wilmot actually has got the class lead. I'm not too sure. We'll find out for you in a moment. The TCT cars have just come through. It is Andy Wilmot that leads the way in the VWs, I can see. They're number 21, but it's Lewis Kent that leads the way. Henry Neal in second, 1.3 seconds further back, with Max Hart third, Darrell Wilson fourth, Dan Kirby fifth, and Tim Docker sixth. Then this is the fight for the lead in the VW Racing Cup, and it is Andy Wilmot that leads the way, with the race 1 winner Richard Gilbert all over him now. In third position is number 34, and that is a car that we haven't mentioned all day long. Brilliant start that, the reverse grid possibly helping a little bit, I suppose, but nonetheless that is an impressive start. It's always nice to see new drivers getting themselves towards the pointy end, and that number 34 car then being piloted by Oliver Brown, who was only 14th on the grid for the first race, but he's really managed to improve. He's up there in a podium place right now ahead of Josh Coggan. So, deep breath everyone, that was an entertaining opening lap and a half or so. Through Shell comes the field, and side by side for the race lead now. Josh, around the outside goes Richard Gilbert on Andy Wilmot. He's got the inside line for the Britain chicane, and he has now gone through. So Richard Gilbert gets himself back in front, and can Wilmot fight back? He's going to try as they come over the hill. He gets a good exit from the corner, and then it's Ollie Brown trying to get through as well. 3, 4, 5, 6 of them nose to tail over the hill. Headlight singular on for Richard Gilbert. I was about to say headlights, but only one of them is working. There's Josh Coggan, his teammate, look, trying to get past Ollie Brown before his teammate escapes up the road. Andy Wilmot's all over the place going through his lops, gets a wheel on the grass there as he turns out of the corner. Jeff Alden, I just saw out of my window trudging down the pit lane, so he's out of the race now, unfortunately, and he had rather a significant impact with that foam stack down at the Hislop chicane. So Richard Gilbert then leads the way. Second place for Wilmot now. Brown in third, and Brown in that Team Hard car looks really competitive now. Heads out of Druid's corner, tries to get the power down and attack into Lodge, but actually it's Josh Coggan that's attacking him and looks to the inside line there as they hit the apex. Not sure if he was able to make that one work or not over the hill. No, he's still behind, so still 4th place for Coggan, and this will be frustrating him. Out of the window, by the way, I've just seen Dan Kirby coming into the pits, and Dan Kirby, who was on pole position for our first race of the day in the TCT class, unfortunately in the pit lane with some sort of a problem. We didn't see it on the screen, but Dan Kirby is in the pits and looks as though he is out of the race, so that will promote Tim Docker to 5th. I think that's the only difference it makes, though. Dan Kirby was running in 5th position, and Tim Docker right behind him has now been able to go through. So VW Cup cars make their way down into Island Bend, and there is Richard Gilbert going through the quick left-hander. Such a fearsome corner, one of the quickest left-handers in British motorsport, and then into one of the tightest right-handers at Shell. But you can carry quite a bit of speed in there because it is banked. You can keep that momentum up through the corner, and Richard Gilbert trying to do just that. Then it's Liam Griffin, and right behind him Mark Wakefield, who I spoke to between races, and he said that he really felt there was a lot more to come from that car in the second race of the day. And Wakefield looks as though he is making good on his promise, because he is challenging Liam Griffin. He's running in 6th at the moment, but he could move into the top 5 at any moment. No one really escaping here in the VW Racing Cup part of the race. Lewis Kent is escaping out in front, though, in TCT. He is 2.8 seconds ahead of Henry Neal in 2nd position, who's 1.5 ahead of Max Hart in 3rd, who is 1.8 ahead of Darrell Wilson in 4th. So there's no real change there. I think the big changes are going to come in the second half of the race once tyre wear starts to play a factor. There is Lewis Kent going through Old Hall corner and heading out of that quick right-hander, 2.9 ahead, because on that lap he was only 0.2 of a second quicker than the second place car, Henry Neal, who set a personal best lap. So Lewis Kent's last lap time was about 0.8 off his best, and yet Henry Neal just set a personal best. So does that mean that Neal is starting to come into his own now, or was it just a bad lap for Lewis? Find out. Lewis Kent was runner-up in the championship in 2019, runner-up in TCT behind Henry Neal, and runner-up in TCR behind James Turkington, two younger relatives of British touring car champions. And Lewis Kent, who himself I'm sure would love to become a British touring car champion in the future, would like to become TCR UK champion first, and he hammers those curbs in the Hyundai, always does ride the curbs well, that i30M. He heads over hilltop now, down the hill towards the braking zone at Hislop's. Henry Neal in second, there's Max Hart in the distance in third. Now the real question here is going to be what sort of lap times we can get out of Henry Neal here through the second half of the race. If he can look after those tyres, he might be able to challenge the race leader Lewis before the checkered flag. This though is Andy Wilmot, who has just lost second position by the looks of it in the VW Cup to Ollie Brown. Ollie Brown has got himself into P2, and Ollie now will set off after Richard Gilbert if he can. The gap was about 1.5 seconds at the start of the lap. We'll see whether or not that is going up or down by the end of it. TCT cars coming through. Druids all fairly well spaced out. Max Hart in third position in the Cupra. Car 101, really impressive debut this for the Irish driver by the Maximum Motorsport squad, and that team know how to prepare a TCR car. That is, as I say, I'm pretty sure the car that James Turkington raced to the title last year, and the one that Stuart Lyons himself, the man behind Maximum Motorsport, raced in the championship the year before that. There's Darrell Wilson in fourth. Lap times continuing to get better for Henry Neal, continuing to not get better for Lewis Kent. But Kent, even though he's not on his personal best pace, is still a couple of tenths quicker than Henry Neal. So 3.1 seconds is now the gap between the top two, and then a further 4 seconds back to Max Hart in third. Darrell Wilson in fourth position there, and Tim Docker in fifth. And although some drivers are lapping kind of a tenth or so quicker than the driver in front of them, all these gaps are coming down all that rapidly, so not much likely to change for the time being at the top of the field. In the VW Racing Cup, Richard Gilbert has just a 0.9 of a second advantage over Brown, who is quicker, so the real battle is the one that's developing for the lead of the VW Racing Cup. It looks as though the second place man, Ollie Brown, is catching the race leader Richard Gilbert. That is really, really impressive pace from Ollie, who was, as I say, not a driver we necessarily expected to be competing for race wins, simply because he was a bit of an unknown quantity. But Richard Gilbert, there you can see with Ollie Brown now not all over him, but certainly closer to him than he was earlier on. They're dropping Andy Wilmot, Josh Coggan and Liam Griffin fighting over third. This though is the real race now, isn't it, for the race victory in the Volkswagen Racing Cup. We're about to hit, in fact we just have hit the half race distance in this shortened 18-minute race. The VW Cup competitors once again putting on a show. It's always been one of the most exciting one-make tin top championships in the country, and it looks as though 2020 is going to be absolutely no different. Josh Coggan there, who finished second in race one, running in fourth at the moment under pressure from Liam Griffin, but look at the pressure that Josh Coggan's teammate Richard Gilbert is under from Ollie Brown for the race lead. Over Clay Hill, past the water tower, into Druids they will go, and who is going to come out on top in this little battle? It looks as though the writing might be on the wall for Richard Gilbert, but Ollie Brown hasn't found a way through yet. Likewise, Liam Griffin hasn't got past Josh Coggan yet, so no change for now into the braking zone at Lodge, and Richard Gilbert is now starting to have to actively defend. It looks like the wide line into Lodge is going to work there for Ollie Brown, is it? No, can't get the speed over the hill, and so Richard Gilbert hanging on by his fingernails to the race lead here. Side by side for fourth, look in the background, Liam Griffin and Josh Coggan, but Coggan again not letting him through here without a fight. Out of Old Hall Corner then, look at the speed differential here. Ollie Brown is clearly quicker than Richard Gilbert, but he needs to realise that, and realise that he doesn't need to take a big risk here. He can afford to take his time. If he knows he's that much better than Gilbert, then he has to just sort of hang back and hope and assume that the move is going to happen, rather than forcing it. because if you start forcing it, that's when you can get yourself into trouble. Josh Coggan getting away from Liam Griffin again now in 4th and 5th positions. Head into the braking zone at the Shell hairpin. Lead battle, of course, as they start to hold each other up, that's possibly going to bring Andy Wilmot and Josh Coggan and Liam Griffin, and indeed Mark Wakefield, because he's back with them again. It could bring them all back into play, so this could still become a 6-way fight for the lead. Front of the field, by the way, in the TCT element of the race, I feel obliged to tell you that the gap is now coming down. For the first time this race, Henry Neal is quicker than Lewis Kent. It's still 3 seconds though, so we'll stick with this battle for now, because there's about 3 inches between the top 2 drivers in the VW Racing Cup, if that. Richard Gilbert almost getting a bit of a love tap there from behind as he went into the right-hander at his lops, and again he's almost getting bump drafted up the hill, side by side behind. Look, Liam Griffin going around the outside of Josh Coggan, they make contact. Oh, Liam Griffin is sideways at Clay Hill. That is a really dangerous place to be making contact. Griffin, I think, managed to save that. Here's the, well, we might see a replay, we might see a car in the barriers. I think Griffin, with all of his years of experience, was able to save that slide, but that was just unnecessary contact really at one of the fastest parts of the track. There you go, you see. Well, Griffin left Coggan room, didn't he, really? It was Josh Coggan who just misjudged it, maybe, and got into the back of him. And Liam Griffin he's going backwards. He's almost 180 degrees to the direction of travel, and I think he did spin in the end, because there he is bouncing his way back on the road, but a long way down the order. He's going to be right towards the back, probably out of the top 10 now for the VW Racing Cup, and that's a shame for Liam on his well, welcome back to the championship, Liam. That's the kind of welcome that you get. I'm sure that he might have words with Josh Coggan after the race about that, but he lives to tell the tale, and thankfully no real damage done. Now, as I made the point earlier on, the gap was coming down between Lewis Kent and Henry Neal, albeit only by a tenth or so. It's now going back out again, because on the previous lap Lewis Kent was a full second quicker than Henry. None of the gaps really at the front of the field look likely to come down significantly for now, so again we can continue focusing on the VW Racing Cup and Richard Gilbert and Ollie Brown. Now Brown, you can see the witness mark on the front of his car. He's definitely been in the back of Coggan at least 1 or 2 times during this race. He seems to have laid off a bit now. He's just settled back. He knows he's not under as much pressure now from behind, because obviously there was a contact between the drivers that were right behind them, so now he's not under pressure. Maybe time to just take a lap or so, cool the tyres off, cool himself off, and build up to another challenge. It's sometimes better to arrive on the tail of the car in front with a bit of momentum, rather than just latching onto their rear bumper for lap after lap after lap, because then you just get stuck running at their speed, when really you'd rather be going a little bit quicker. But if you can catch them by a few tenths of a second a lap and then immediately pounce, then it is a little bit easier sometimes to make the move stick. Druids. Oh, Gilbert gets a bit squirrely on the entry. He's out wide onto the wet side of the road, and this is definitely an opportunity now for Ollie Brown, because Richard Gilbert was slow off Druids corner, has to defend into Lodge corner. So Brown takes the wide line in, cuts back to the late apex, carries so much more speed off the corner. They're almost level, and they're going to make contact. They almost do as they go over Deer's Leap, but it is going to be still Richard Gilbert that hangs on to this advantage. He defended well from his teammate in race 1. He's defending even better now from the team hard car of Ollie Brown in the second race. And as they disappeared from shot, as though maybe Ollie Brown was setting up for another move. Lewis Kent, though, still unchallenged out in front, 5.5 seconds clear of Henry Neal in second. I knew I'd try and call him Matt at one point today. Max Hart in third, fourth for Darryl Wilson, fifth for Tim Docker. No change in the order there. What is going on, though, in the VWs? I think we're about to find out, because they're heading down the Lakeside Straight. No, it's still Gilbert in front, despite the extra momentum that the second place car, Ollie Brown, was taking through Old Hall about 30 seconds or so ago. What battle this has been between the two of them. Lewis Kent coming through to start what will be his penultimate lap, I think. 2 more laps to go at the end of this one, because we have 2.5 minutes left on the clock, and he's lapping now underneath the 2-minute bracket. These are the quickest laps we've seen so far today. Look at the way that he's running on the wet side of the road, trying to cool those Dunlop wet tyres down. But he can sort of afford to take an easy, can't he? Henry Neal just hasn't had the pace to live with him, whereas in race 1 Henry was definitely the quicker of the two. It seems that in the wet Lewis has the edge. Right, back to the VW Racing Cup part of the race, and it does look as though Ollie Brown has the edge here, but he just can't get the track position. Wherever he wants to go, he's getting a face full of green VW Golf, and well, they're both in Golf, but of course it's the newer shape Golf of Richard Gilbert that already has one race win to his name today, wants to try and get a second if he can. Interestingly, whilst the TCT cars are going quite a bit slower now than they were earlier on, the leading VW drivers are spurring each other on to set actually the fastest laps that they've been running all day. So, that's sometimes the way when you're in a battle like this, you have no choice but to push hard and kind of forget about saving the tyres. So this is a fascinating scrap between the two. It doesn't look like Andy Wilmot's quite got the pace to challenge them right now. Across the line onto what will be their penultimate lap. Lewis Kent, though, is heading down into the Hislop chicane, already half a lap ahead of them. The Block Coin sponsored Hyundai i30M. But Lewis Kent hops over the curb, still pushing hard, as is his style. Doesn't matter how far ahead he is, he will always push. It's going to be, by the looks of it, his third ever race victory in the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy. He won both of the races at Croft last year, and that was really where his championship challenge started, because he didn't race in either of the races at the season opener at Oulton Park as a result of a mechanical issue in testing. I believe it was some sort of an electrical misfire kind of problem, which unfortunately prevented him from running in the rest of the weekend, so he couldn't take part in the two races, lost a whole load of points, and that kind of is where his championship was derailed, but it then came well and truly back on track a month or so later at the Croft circuit up in the northeast. He heads on to the final lap of the race now, though, and Lewis Kent sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:55.387. Lewis Kent is really trying here, even though he is 9 seconds now clear of Henry Neal in second, third for Max Hart, fourth for Darrell Wilson, and Max Hart is catching Henry Neal actually now. He's still 5 seconds back, but he was nearly a full second quicker on that last lap, so it does look like the NGTC car with a bit more power. Remember that NGTC Civic of Henry Neal, maybe that's chewed up its front tyres a bit more than the TCR cars. Maybe that's something that Bryn Lucas can ask the drivers after the race, whether or not there was a difference there between the NGTC and TCR cars tyre wear wise. In the VW Cup, well, the dynamics changed again there, hasn't it? Because it looks like Ollie Brown has dropped back again from Richard Gilbert, almost into the clutches of Andy Wilmot. So far from being able to challenge for the win on this last lap, it looks like maybe Ollie Brown is going to have to settle for a second place. Lewis Kent, though, heads out of the Hislop chicane into Knickerbrook corner. Is he going to set another fastest lap, I wonder, here on the final lap of the race? It's definitely starting to dry up on that racing line. Bear in mind, we've still got 2 more races to go, so I think if it doesn't rain again, it might be a full dry line by the end of the day. That won't matter much to our Dunlop Touring Car Trophy competitors. This is their final lap of competition this weekend, and Lewis Kent has started his season in fine style. Didn't quite win the first race, but he is going to finish in the first position for race 2. He and Henry Neal then are going to be very close together in points as we leave Oulton Park. Across the start-finish line then will come Lewis Kent. It is a win for Hyundai. It's his third victory in his TCT career. Flashes the headlights. He is a dominant victor here at Oulton Park. Henry Neal will come home, I presume, in second, but I think, he's going to fend off Max Hart at the line. Henry Neal in second. Max Hart comes through in third. And Darrell Wilson in fourth position. So great driving there from all of them in tricky conditions. I know they weren't nose to tail throughout that race as we've seen in the past, but they were still really pushing hard. Certainly Lewis Kent. Henry Neal, by the way, setting a personal best lap on the last lap, so maybe he did have tyres left, maybe he just didn't have the speed to match Lewis in that one. Setting up to be a fascinating scrap between those two. And you know, I've always said that a lot is made of grid sizes and number of entries, but when you've got 2 or 3 drivers that are all pretty evenly matched, it doesn't really matter how many cars are on the grid, because you get great racing, and these 2 drivers here are very evenly matched within the VW Racing Cup. It is still absolutely nothing separating Richard Gilbert and Ollie Brown. Brown trying to chase down the JM Racing car, but he's not going to get there, I don't think. Out of Lodge Corner, over the hill once again, and Richard Gilbert is going to be a double race victory for him. He is the early championship leader then in the VW Racing Cup. Ollie Brown though with a really good drive there for second place, Andy Wilmot third, Mark Wakefield fourth, and Josh Coggan in fifth, who survived that skirmish he had with Liam Griffin. It is Liam brother Kieran who comes home actually sixth in class, Tony Prendergast seventh, Bradley Kent will be eighth, Paul de Hadre ninth, and Liam Griffin 10th after that spectacular spin up through the top of Clay Hill. So the field, I think, has more or less cycled through just the last couple of the VWs. Liam Griffin got past Paul de Hadre actually, so he gets ninth place on the last lap, but all of the accolades really go to Lewis Kent. He is your winner in the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy. Henry Neal in second, Max Hart third, Darrell Wilson is fourth, and Tim Docker rounds out the 5 Dunlop Touring Car Trophy finishers. Sadly, we didn't see much of Dan Kirby. He managed the first few laps, first couple of laps in fact, but then retired into the pit lane. This is your VW result. Richard Gilbert with the win, Ollie Brown second, Andy Wilmot third, Josh Coggan fourth, Liam Griffin fifth, Mark Wakefield sixth, Kieran Griffin seventh, and Tony Prendergast rounding out the top 8 finishers.
Right, well, race winner Lewis Kent, you made that look a bit easy. What was it, 9 seconds ahead, and you were lapping about 1 second faster than second place Henry Neal? Yeah, it's not the record. 10 seconds last year is the record, so nearly at the record, but no, just can't thank the boys enough. They've given me a good car all weekend, as they normally do. Yeah, we just changed a few things, just got the front end in a bit that time. I used my head a bit more again, and just used the throttle a bit less and just try to power it out a bit easier. Other than that, yeah, it was just quite a nice, simple race for me. Got a really good launch. I think Henry bogged a bit on the start, so we got a good launch off the start. Got around the outside of him, and yeah, just put our head down and pulled away. We knew we had a bit of a gap after the start, so no point doing anything silly. Just get the laps in, just be consistent. What was the overall difference between race 2 and race 1? Not a lot, really. You know, we just found that little bit more front end, a little bit more pace. If we can do the rest of the season like that, we don't mind having a second and a first every weekend. So, but yeah, it was literally just figuring it out, going through the data, looking at the fine tuning, and just seeing those little places we could find a couple of attempts. Also, it was drying out quite a lot there, so every time I came onto a straight, it was find a bit of wet, get on that and cool the tyres down. Get the tyres cooler, yeah. I've learned from the first year to manage my tyres as well. So, well, you used to rip through tyres, didn't you, a lot more, so that was a case of getting the temperature down as opposed to getting the temperature up, which you want. Yeah, exactly. On the green flag lap, I thought to myself, looked at myself, and I looked at the track and I thought, it's drying up a lot, so yeah, I did minimal weaving, kept in a straight line, just normal throttle and brake sort of stuff, and yeah, just really happy with the weekend, really. It's not been a bad day. No, not a bad day in the office, not a bad Saturday. Thank you very much. There you go, race winner Lewis Kent. Let's head over and grab Henry Neal. Henry, can we have a quick word with you? Yeah. It's been a short while since you stepped out of the car, and that one was a much different race from race number 1. Yeah, it's just the start didn't go well. It went alright for us, but the TCR car they could pull away so much better than us. So managed to hold on to P2. Obviously, got 60 kilos in this time, so I knew we weren't going to be. It's going to be hard to win the next one. But yeah, managed to hold on to P2, and fair play to Lewis. I tried as hard as I could to get on the back of him, but he just made a big gap and got away. So yeah, he was very quick. But like you say, the weight in the car, the extra 60 kilos does add on a track like this. Oh, for sure, it's massive. You got that many hills you got to go up, and it's just those small tenths, but they over 20 laps it counts to a lot. So did you change your game plan as soon as you knew he was going to disappear off? I mean, I saw he got in front, and I was like, right, I'll try and get my head down and get on the back of him, see if we can have a go. But I just couldn't match the pace of him in that Hyundai. So, but fair play to him. He was happy with the second and the first. Are you happy with the first and the second? Yeah, it's better than I did last year. Last year I ended up sideways in a wall. So you did. First and the second, we'll take that. Good stuff. Well done. Cheers. Well done. It was a pretty good start there for Henry Neal. Let's get our third place driver. Here we are. Nice to chat to you again. I mean, well, you had 2 laps in qualifying. You put it in
third place in race 1, and well, you've got exactly the same trophy for race 2. Well done.
Yeah, sure, it was a fun race. I think I got a bad start, but I was still able to kind of stay with them for the first few laps, and then I saw those lads, they switched places, and then Lewis kind of got a gap, and then Henry got a gap, but slowly towards the end I kind of started to hold the gap then and catch a little bit at the end. But I don't know, it was a fun race. It wasn't too much interesting stuff going on as in position swaps, but it was good fun.
There was a lot going on behind you, I should say, not just in TCT but in the VWs as well. So a good experience for you the first time out in TCT.
Yeah, a nice load of points for the championship and a good start. I learned so much this weekend, and my pace is slowly getting there, so I think the next time out we'll be thereabouts on the pace. So
great start.
Cheers, thanks. Can I just say a big thanks to all my sponsors, because without them lads I just wouldn't be here, so just thanks to all my sponsors.
Great stuff, well done, well done. Got one more thing to add actually while we're here, and I think Lewis has just disappeared off, so we're going to have Lewis one more time so he knows what we're going to say to him. But let me just let's go back over here for a second. He's got to put his mask back on, forgive him for a second, but something we didn't say before, if you want to head round here, got a lot of noise in the background obviously, but Lewis, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you've also got the Sunoco Fastest Lap Award for TCT and TCR as well.
Oh, right.
So it's a new little award. We didn't mention earlier on, but you've also achieved that. So the fastest lap here. It goes to show that all the work you've done over the last few seasons. You think last year how many fastest laps you set at different circuits? It's continuing into 2020 as well.
Yeah, last year I think we had something like 4 out of the lap records out the whole year. So yeah, great to carry it on, carry the pace on. But yeah, as I say, can't thank the boys enough. And as I say, this is probably the best sort of stepping stone and learning page for a touring car, as myself has done. And yeah, if you ever think about doing touring car racing and building your way up into a bigger sort of thing, this is the place to start.
But not until you've won the championship, right?
Yeah, exactly. Once I've gone, you can come along. It's all fine.
Look great. It was really good day's racing.
Yeah, no, perfect.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Well, Richard, it's been a nice day for you here at Oulton Park. It's dried out and another pretty good, massive trophy.
Yeah, double podium, just can't believe it.
No, you had your work cut out because you started 6th, so you had to fight your way through it. It wasn't a simple task by any means.
No, it wasn't at all. I mean, race 1 I found easier, to be honest. It wasn't simple at all. Although I enjoyed this race more because it was a bit more battling and a bit more racing, defending, overtaking, which is what it's all about, really. That's what you come for.
What do you take away from today then?
Well,
apart from some big trophies.
A big smile, I think. That's about it. A lot of experience, yeah.
Great stuff.
It's been a mixed day. Yeah. Certainly how dry it's been now. If anything, the tyres went off towards the end of race 2. But yeah, it's good day.
Great stuff, well done.
Thank you very much.
Let's head over now to second place then. Let's go to Oliver Brown. Now, there was a rumour that he was going to be entering to TCT, but that didn't happen. As you see him in the Team Hard car. He got the scholarship from Team Hard for 2020, actually won that in January of this year. So he's got a good, nice good level head on his shoulders, so well done, second place.
Thank you.
How was it from your point of view?
Good, interesting, bit of a battle out there. I didn't expect to get up to the front so quick. Brilliant race, brilliant defending from the guy in front. You know, I think I had a little bit more pace than him, but amazing defending. Brilliant race. I enjoyed every minute of it.
It's been quite a big year for you, really, 2020, hasn't it? And talk us through the car, how you got this seat.
So with this, I entered into the Team Hard scholarship. Fortunately, I managed to win it. I was given a chance to drive in the GT Cup and the Ginetta. At the moment, we're just trying to get me out in everything possible to learn the tracks, learn different cars, get some race experience and track experience. Today was my first time to the track. I've never been here before. It's only ever my second race. I only got my race licence 4 weeks ago. So
you're living your dream, really, aren't you?
I am living my dream. Yeah. It's exciting. It's interesting, and I look forward to more.
Yeah, I bet you do. Well done. A nice trophy for you to take home for the end of the day.
That's good. Brilliant.
Great stuff. Well done.
Thank
Second place there to Oliver Brown, as he's saying, getting that seat from winning the scholarship from Team Hard. And we'll go over to our third place driver then. We go over to Andrew Wilmot. We can get Andrew's attention as well. A lot of camaraderie going on, as you'd imagine. Well, not bad for you. Would you be happy with a third? Started second, so went backwards by 1 spot, but a lot of pressure on your shoulders.
Yeah, I was happy with that. I was just happy with the 7th. No, as soon as I realised I was in a podium position, I mean, I was first because I sort of muscled around a bit of an issue out there. I saw some faster cars behind me. Pretty pretty much just let them go. They've had more seat time. They've been out there last year. They know the cars. I'm here for a bit of fun, you know. And yeah, I realised I was in P3. P4 was miles behind, and I just thought I'd maintain it and keep a clean car.
Well, you know that if you're here for fun, that really annoys the people that are here to be for the serious reasons, right? You've got to play the game, haven't you?
Yeah, you have. Yeah, got to pretend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm being really serious about this. But no, I was here for fun. But now I think I might take it a bit more seriously and do another round.
Did you expect to be on the podium?
No,
all?
no, absolutely not. I said if I'm mid-pack this weekend, it's fine. I had no prior testing, and I just jumped in at qualifying today. I've completely lost
It's
my
been
brain.
a long day.
It's been a really long day, but it's been so exciting. I don't think I've done a one-day championship for a long time, but it's crazy. I feel tired now.
Well, the weather adds a lot more to it because essentially we've had two different sorts of races, haven't we?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the changing conditions out there, it's just you've really got to have your head in the game. And because one minute you're sliding all over the place, next minute you find a bit of grip, and but if you don't realise that you can make up that time because of the changing conditions, you're just going to lose it. So you're kind of judging how much pace everyone else has got by looking in your mirror and how much you're losing to the guys in front. But I had a great time. Like, Maximus put a good car together for me today, and it was well worth the 200 odd mile trip up here on my Saturday.
Well done, well done.
I enjoyed it. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you.